you have such a commitment to building men, building community. You talk
And
a
women
lot,
too.
and women, because you
Yeah.
talk a lot about masculine and feminine energy in a lot of the conversations that you have. And so my question would then be, how is family being played out in your life? How do you see yourself continuing that legacy for yourself and building that family? You talk about marriage being metaphysical. And so what is that connection for you in this season of your life?
Very great question. Family is one of the number one things in my life, right? Family is always a tough subject because I got a lot of brothers going through a lot of things. So when you say family, that's what I automatically think of, right? And being the strongest person in the family, being an uncle, being a brother, being a son, right? You see things from all these different perspectives. I've seen what don't work. I've seen what do work,
Right.
right? I've seen all of the dramas of baby mothers and fathers that you can possibly see.
Yeah.
From the worst, right, to some beautiful aspects of it. I've seen some of my siblings get divorced. I've seen them get married, divorced, remarried, right? I grew up in a broken household. My mother and father were separated, right? So it gives me a skewed view of the way you're supposed to customize life to work for you. Because your pastor can tell you something, your minister can tell you something, but they can't live it for you, right? They don't have the same traits, experiences, personalities, wants, needs, desires, ideas that you have about life, nor are they the same age and live at the same time to make it work for you. So I've been in the season of making sure that I am the man, right, that's ready, right? We talked about this on stage. Before you make a baby, right, you have to make sure that you healed. Because everything that you don't heal, you put in that baby,
Absolutely.
right? And the easiest way to give that child inheritance is to become more before you have a child. Because they're going to inherit 25% from you, 25% from them, or 50%, but also 25% from the grandparents. So the person that you pick, make sure that they are properly ready. Like, make sure that you both are at your 100%, that you're not passing down the same issues your grandparents, your great-grandparents put in you, and you never decided to heal the same addictions, issues, lower shadows that we all have. So I believe that I'm in that season of making sure that when a child is brought, when the marriage is there, right, it's from a very clear and healed place.
So what are you doing to ensure that healing is? Are you committed to therapy? What kind of personal development are you tapping into in this season?
Yes, I'm committed to intentional shadow work. I've done some therapy, right? I've realized that my therapist needed me more than I needed her.
Oh God! You know what? I am not surprised that you would say that. 19 Keys. I feel like you would sit down and say that with everybody.
No, I feel like she was overworked. And I could
Okay.
tell. She was,
Okay.
when I sit with Queen, she has an energy and a presence, very receiving and healing. My therapist felt like she was trying to get through the day, So I felt like you probably need to sit with someone. And I shouldn't be feeling your energy.
You was diagnosing her while y'all was on, while
I'm
you was
supposed to
on the
be
couch.
releasing.
Yeah,
I
and
can
you
feel her anxiety of her life, and that's not what I want to be
you were
feeling.
feeling the anxiety of her life.
Yeah, I'm very empathic.
I can tell that.
So
Yeah.
I can feel when other people are going through things.
Okay.
So I shouldn't feel my therapist's issues.
So tell our audience, you said you're going through shadow work.
Yes.
For those people who may not be familiar with that type of work, give them a look into that.
So Carl Jung was the one who talked about shadow work, and it's basically saying that everybody has a shadow, right? We have our public selves, right? We have our private selves.
The darker, the
Right,
dark
and
side.
we have our
Yeah.
shadow selves.
Yeah.
So the public persona is what you want the world to see. This is what you present to the world, right? Private is more so the person you with when you with family, right? You may be a little more soft or more funny or more just outgoing, whatever it may be, but then your shadow self is the person that you with when it's just you. Right? The person that you have to deal with when you look in the mirror, right? The person that can make you feel shame, guilt, or joy, right? Because there's a resolve between, and most of it comes from like unhealed traumas or unprocessed things or unlearned lessons. So this is why we do something and we feel guilt, right? Why did I do that? Or we feel shame. I'm a bad person. Because there's an integration that didn't happen, right? To where there's a shadow making decisions and you're trying to deny that it exists. And then once it takes over and it happened, now you're shameful because that's not who you want to be. So what you have to do is to take a real deep introspective look at self. What I like to do is go over my past and I reframe. So it's something called reframing. I think about all of the, like I've done this many times in life where I just go through my whole entire life in a series of events that I believe that made me. Times I felt shame, I felt guilt, I felt, if I felt fear, whatever it may be. And then I go through that and I reframe what was actually happening. Right? Because what happens is when somebody go through something, they still think that they're the person going through it. So it's in their body, right? It's in your nervous system, right? And that leaks into your personality. So you have all these undealt with things. You can't heal until you learn, right? And so a lot of people haven't learned the lesson, so they're trying to blame other people for being triggered.
Right.
It's not their fault. You have to heal yourself. So when everybody say, don't trigger me, no, heal yourself so there's nothing to trigger.
So, what is your shadow teaching you right now? What have you learned from doing the work thus far? And then what stories have you had to reframe over your life?
I think my shadow is teaching me to have grace with myself. Right? One thing I've been using as a good analogy, I think people can understand. When you look at politicians, we can easily forgive them for their past because we believe that what they're going to do moving forward is greater than their mistakes.
It's our hope.
Right. So we'll say, I don't care what they've done. This is more important. We don't do that with ourselves. We don't do that with people in our lives. We don't do that with black leaders. We don't do that with anybody else. But uniquely with politicians, we have an ability to give them grace, right? Because we can say that's not them. We can detach them from their past. It's very hard to do that with ourselves. So as a human, because this is what I learned to see my parents, I had to see them as human beings.
Absolutely.
And I believe I gave my parents grace and I forgave them faster than any of my siblings, which allowed me to process and grow and mature. Because I seen my father as a man, understood he didn't have his father, right? I seen my mother as a woman. I understand who her mother was, what she went through, right? And once I started seeing them as human beings, then I didn't have any undealt with mother or father issues. Now I'm just dealing with my issues, right?
Yeah.
And so when, I did that, it allowed me the room to grow, right? And I think that's what grace does. It gives you the room to grow. I'm not perfect, right? I have some of the same Lord needs and issues as everybody else, but I'm always striving. And the fact that I'm constantly recognize that is meaning that there's a better part of myself that wants to grow and wants to be better. And that's an undying part of myself that's only getting stronger. So I think number one is forgiving myself and giving myself grace, right? And then right after that, empowering myself with the knowledge to actually do it, challenging myself to get better and better, and recognizing and celebrating those parts of myself as well. And so shadow work, I think, is necessary for everybody because we all have an aspect of ourselves that we want to be better.
Hey, Vault family, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this clip, make sure to check out our full interview on our channel at Vault Empowers Talks. We don't just scratch the surface. We dive deep into the lives of some of the world's most influential leaders and change makers. Don't forget to like, to comment, and be sure to subscribe for more inspiring conversations. See you next time.